The night was heavy with silence. The city had quieted down, its usual noise fading into the distance like a forgotten song. The lamps along the narrow street flickered with dim light, their glow fighting against the fog that wrapped itself around the pavement like a shroud. The air was damp and cold, carrying with it the faint scent of rain that never fell. In the middle of this lonely street, on an old wooden bench that had seen better days, sat a young woman. Her blue evening gown shimmered faintly under the half-broken streetlight, though the fabric was torn at the edges. What once must have been dazzling now appeared fragile, broken, just like the woman wearing it. Her body trembled, whether from the chill or from exhaustion, it was hard to tell. She sat hunched over, arms wrapped tightly around her knees, as if trying to make herself small enough to disappear. Her long hair fell loosely over her shoulders, strands clinging to her damp cheeks. Behind that curtain of hair, her eyes glistened, not with beauty, but with unshed tears that spoke of despair and fear. To a passerby, she might have looked like a figure abandoned by the world, a ghost of someone who once lived with dreams. But to her, this wasn't some momentary hardship, it was her reality. From a distance, a man noticed her. He wasn't rushing anywhere, his pace was unhurried, thoughtful. His navy coat brushed against his knees as he walked, and the faint crunch of gravel beneath his shoes broke the silence. He could have kept walking, could have told himself that she was none of his concern, just another stranger in the city. But something about her posture, her vulnerability, stopped him. He hesitated for a moment, then slowly approached. As he drew closer, he could see the trembling of her shoulders, the faint sound of her uneven breathing. Kneeling beside the bench, he lowered his voice to something soft, gentle, almost a whisper that carried concern rather than intrusion. "Are you okay?" The words were simple, but they carried weight. They broke the silence in a way that didn't feel harsh. She stiffened, at first not answering, afraid of what kindness might cost her. In her world, attention rarely came without a price. Slowly, she turned her face toward him. Her eyes met his, and he saw it, the rawness of her fear, the exhaustion etched deep within. She looked like someone who had been carrying too much for far too long. He realized then she wasn't just shivering from the cold. She was shivering from life itself. She tried, but her voice cracked, fading into the mist. The man didn't press. He didn't demand answers or explanations. He simply stayed there, grounded, steady, as if to say, "I'm not going anywhere unless you want me to." Minutes passed in fragile silence. Then, as though some invisible dam broke, words began to spill from her lips. Not all at once, but in fragments, whispers, pieces of a story that weighed too much for her to carry alone. She spoke of her nights dancing in bars, of the music and the lights that tried to cover the emptiness underneath. She described the pressure, the way she was pushed into situations she never wanted, forced to smile when she wanted to cry, to sparkle when she felt hollow. She told him about exploitation, about how beauty had become both her shield and her prison. Every sentence was heavy, each confession like a shard of glass cutting into the quiet night. He listened. Not with pity, but with presence. He didn't interrupt or offer clichés. He didn't tell her she should have made different choices, didn't scold or preach. He simply listened, eyes steady, face calm, letting her know that her story, as broken as it was, mattered. For the first time in a long while, she felt heard. Not as a dancer, not as a woman judged by her appearance, but as a human being. The night hummed with distant city sounds, faint traffic, the echo of laughter somewhere far away, the occasional bark of a stray dog. Around them, the streetlights cast long, soft shadows that swayed in the fog. But here, on this forgotten bench, the world felt smaller, intimate, as though it was holding space just for them. He finally spoke, his voice low and steady. "You've been carrying too much alone. No one should have to survive like that." Her lips trembled. She looked at him as if trying to decide whether to believe those words. Life had taught her that people often hurt more than they help. And yet, something in his tone, in the quiet steadiness of his presence, felt different. He offered her his coat, carefully draping it over her trembling shoulders. She stiffened at first, then slowly relaxed as the fabric's warmth wrapped around her. But it wasn't just the coat. It was the kindness behind it that began to thaw something inside her. "Why?" she whispered, almost accusingly. "Why are you being kind to me?" He paused, searching for the right words. Finally, he answered softly. "Because everyone deserves kindness. Especially when the world has given them none." Her tears spilled then, silent streams tracing paths down her cheeks. But for once, the tears weren't only of sorrow. They carried something new, something fragile. Hope. The conversation stretched into the night. She spoke more, hesitantly at first, then with a release that felt like breathing after drowning. He asked nothing of her, demanded nothing in return. He simply gave her space to be, to exist without judgment. As the night deepened, he gently suggested, "I know a safe place you can stay tonight. Somewhere warm. Somewhere no one will hurt you." She hesitated, fear still whispering its warnings. Trust was dangerous. But trust was also the only bridge toward something better. And sitting there, beneath the dim light, she realized she wanted to take that chance. For the first time in years, the night didn't feel like an enemy. It didn't feel like a trap waiting to swallow her whole. With him sitting beside her, it felt bearable. Perhaps even promising. The fog lingered, the lamps flickered, the street remained lonely, but in the midst of it all, something had shifted. A bond had been formed. Fragile, yes. Tentative, yes. But real. As they rose from the bench together, her steps were still unsteady, but not alone. His presence beside her was not a rescue, not a solution to all her pain, but a reminder. A reminder that even in darkness, even when life seemed merciless, a single act of compassion could change everything. The night would not erase her struggles. It would not undo the years of hardship, the scars etched into her heart. But it had given her something she thought she had lost forever, a reason to believe that tomorrow could be different. And sometimes, that is enough.